My God, thanks for coming on again, man. I feel like, what's it been? 6 months? 5 months since the last time?
Like half a year almost, somewhere around there.
Crazy, man. I feel like time is flying since the last time you've been here.
I was just saying when I hopped out the car too, even just before the last time we spoke into the other podcast, I was like, dang, I haven't seen Scott in a minute.
Yeah, so man, it's been a while.
Chop it up and talk a little bit. So
For sure. I know you're working on a lot of cool stuff. I know you're hitting the gym crazy. I know you're also doing a lot of reading on the stock market as well. So I want to catch up on what you've been doing because I've kind of made a little shift in the stock market, trading, a bunch of options trading. You know that we're in the options game, but I've kind of shifted towards futures lately, and I feel like the market's been weird. So I kind of wanted to see what you got going on. I know you're always working on something on the back end. So we had a great conversation the first time. It's a little bit more professional of a setup nowadays. So we're leveling up a little bit. But thanks again for coming on, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy man.
No, it's gonna be fun to hop on here, chop it up, and just catch up a little bit.
Hell yeah, man.
So,
it's good. Good conversation. But so tell me what you got going on, man. I know are you still in the selling options game? Are you more in the scalping? I know you were telling me you were on the buy side for a while.
Yeah. So it really just depends on the situation. But I think there's definitely different opportunities when to use like selling options versus buying options and maybe dabbling into futures depending on like what the market's offering. Yeah. So I like to use all of those kind of simultaneously, but it kind of depends on kind of the move or what I'm looking for in the market. Will I, use both or maybe just futures or maybe buying options in this case, but it really varies a lot. So
yeah. Is a lot of like what you're doing right now? You're selling options with Tasty Works, right?
Yeah.
Or Tasty Trades? Tasty Trades.
Yeah, the platform.
Okay, so you're still creating content for them, or is it more so your personal brand, and then you kind of just talk about it from there?
Yeah, no. So I'll release a YouTube video on their YouTube channel every other week.
Okay.
So that's fully on their YouTube. Usually I'll take some of the other talent from Tasty. Brainstorm a little bit. Oh, like for example, the last one we did was actually on futures.
Really?
So but I sold options on the futures product that time. I had made a video early before selling the outright contracts, but the last one we did selling premium on the futures itself. So we'll kind of brainstorm, figure out like a cool video idea that, people could have some good takeaways of. And I like to kind of show in the platform, how I'm selecting contracts, what I'm looking for, and then sending the trade through. So that's kind of what I'm up to with Tasty. And then in terms of personal brand, it's really just I'll kind of dive into my own personal trading. We kind of have
I like that.
Yeah, so it's kind of a pretty open-ended question.
Yeah, but, man, take it away. Take it away. I feel like your personal brand, is it something that like you're kind of utilizing? I kind of want to make the reference between Barstool Sports and like how they utilize these people, to come into their company and they kind of blow up their personal brand through these media outlets because they're such a huge media outlet. And then all of a sudden they grow their personal brand. Is that kind of something similar that you're thinking of Tasty Trades to kind of like help you boost your knowledge with one, to personal brand? Like, is that also kind of like piggybacking off of that? A
little different. I think what was cool with Tasty is, I was someone young that kind of came on. So it was kind of opening, just to show that it was opening the doors for other young people to, seeing other young people doing these kind of things. So kind of in the reverse, but in terms of my own personal brand, not really, just because some of the trading that I do and the practices that I practice is a little off from what, Tom Sosnoff and things like that would teach me. So some of the things like that I'll do in my personal account, I won't do with his money.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And whenever I'm creating content, I'll make sure it's tailored to what I'm doing.
Got it.
And I can kind of be, doing whatever I want with my personal account. But I just wouldn't want to be doing all these crazy stuff with somebody else's money, even if it worked out.
It's their money. You're actually getting access to his, like the Tasty Trade
account. I had one account. So I have 3 accounts on Tasty Trade. 2 are my personal accounts, and one is more so called like the business account.
Like a fund almost, right?
Exactly. Okay. So with that account, I started off on the 2 youth series called the Where Do I Start series on the Tasty channel.
Okay.
That was the account Tom had started for me for when he's, we were on there about 2 times a week.
Got it.
So I'd use that account to practice and learn the things that he's teaching me and stuff like that. So he didn't have me using my own money when I was on air with them, and he was, showing me the ropes of selling options and things and whatnot. So
that's so dope, man. It's almost like you get introduced because it's a scary world, right?
Yeah,
like,
you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, no one teaches this stuff.
Exactly. It's 100%.
And this is how the rich people get rich.
100%.
Like, why don't they teach
Exactly. Us? And to your point, we were talking about futures earlier. I would have never touched or dabbled into futures if when I was on that show, Tom didn't make us try every single product in the market. You just wanted us to get a feel for how things work so you can kind of decide on what's going to be the best tool for this current situation based off of all the tools in our toolbox, like selling options, buying options.
Yeah.
Even dabbling in crypto, buying futures, selling the futures, selling options on futures, buying options on futures. So we kind of went through the whole 9 yards, and he kind of just showed me the ropes of everything. So
yeah, it's insane because like going back on like we don't get taught this kind of stuff.
no,
It's like
nowhere.
where like I didn't hear options. I didn't even hear the stock market. I don't think when I was growing up, even in college, like I went to a major 4-year university, and I don't even really think that they talked about trading stocks, anything until I was like a junior or senior. It's like that's stuff that you should probably learn when you're young because they always say compound interest compounds.
Absolutely.
Right. So like if I'm 14, 15 and I'm making like a minimum wage job, at least educate me to be like, I have no other expenses, so I should save this up and make it work for me over those years. Because that 5 years, even though you're only going to make a couple grand, could still be helpful in the future. But
of course, and you learn so much about the principles about the market can play out in real life. You learn so much about yourself and just managing risk and whatnot. So
the most basic thing they tell us is buy low, sell high, or just keep
it's in
buying,
every market.
keep buying. But like, where are you like these derivatives that are out there, like selling options or buying options? It sounds scary. It's really not. If you can really just
it sounds scary.
It does because of these. It's a different language, right?
It is.
So if you hear about buying options or selling options is genius, right? You're basically paying yourself. And I like to use the analogy. It's like Monopoly. Every time you go around the whole board, you're pass and go, you collect $200. It's kind of like the same thing.
Time is on your side.
Exactly.
So,
they're designed to go to zero,
Yeah.
right? So they're created, these contracts literally have an expiration date for the people that don't know, right? I know we're talking about this, but like for the people that don't know, these contracts have an option expiration date and they go to zero the closer it gets to that expiration date. I like to make the analogy of an ice cube, right? So if you're holding an ice cube, it's pretty intact when you first bring it out of the freezer, but as you hold it, it melts a lot faster, right? Same thing with an option contract. As soon as it gets closer to that expiration date, it's going to start melting and melting and melting until it's worth zero. So by buying options, it's great if you know how to trade, scalp, and you can time the market. But if you buy and you're right, but you're right at the wrong time, you're still wrong.
Exactly. You can be correct on the move you're expecting and still break even or even lose money on the trade. And that can just blow. And that was blowing my mind when I first got into options. Even when I was, talking with Tom on some of the trades I was putting on, I'd get the directional move. But I wasn't seeing the move in my P&L that I was looking for. But again, I was a little more naive when I was starting out. I didn't realize I needed a little bit more time to pass and more of that, it's called extrinsic value to get sucked out of the contract so that I can start seeing the gains or losses on the P&L, but it just wasn't making sense to me. But
what's crazy is like you can still learn all this by doing it, right? But it's cool that like you come in there and people are teaching you firsthand before you kind of dabble into it, because social media, I love it. You and I are both content creators, right? Like we create content, we try to educate people as much as possible, but I'm not the guy that showcases my gains. I don't want to like just post like, I've been doing it a little bit more with futures just to catch people's attention. I'm making like, if I had a $4,500 day today, I want to post about that. Be like, I wasn't trading that much. This is possible because of, it's possible. But there's some guys out there that have huge personal brands. They're rolling in hundreds of $1,000s a month just off of monthly subscriptions. So they have like a replenishment. So when they're posting these large gains of like 20K a day, 30K a day, some people are posting 100K days, right? And good for them. That's amazing that they're at that level. But it kind of creates this like negative thing on social media because people are coming to that like, oh, they're selling me the dream, or oh shit, I can make 30K in a day, but then their account's at like 2K. They have a lot more things going on at home, and then it's like they don't make that because they're not getting educated. They're just seeing that they're being sold the dream.
100%. And
kind of creating like this negative connotation behind the market.
And whenever you put up those big gains, what people don't see is you have to put up the appropriate amount of risk for that type of gain. So it's like someone might put up a $60,000 trade. It's like you don't see they have to put up $20,000, $30,000 in risk, sometimes even more, because some people don't have a really solid risk to reward, just to gain that amount of money. And I think that's one thing that's commonly overlooked.
Of course. And I think that the buying side of options, which is great because the opportunities are crazy, right? Because you can think
that's why it's so attractive.
Because you can make 400% on a trade, but the reality of it is you have to time that almost perfectly.
You have to time it right.
And you can catch with momentum, but people don't realize that on an average yearly return, you just gave all of your money to a financial advisor, you're making what, 10 to 12% at most a year? So 10 to 12% on a trade is like, that's great.
That is great.
It's great money. Like you're just making 10% on one trade when that takes an entire year for that money to work for you like that. So I don't know, man. I think that social media, I love it. I've been doing it for 3 years. I know you've been doing it just about the same time, if not longer. And I feel like a lot of people in the space have kind of created like this negative thing for
Yeah.
it. So people are starting to shy away from like listening to the financial sides of things because, you know, selling options isn't sexy. It takes a while. It takes a little bit of capital, right? There's other strategies that can make it a little bit cheaper, but
it's not sexy when it's not get rich quick, just buy this, buy that. You know what I mean?
That's
That's how
not
it goes,
viral
typically.
content.
Exactly.
Which sucks.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's so much education out there, which is what these people are doing. I actually had a conversation with a guy in New York City, and I was sitting by him at a bar, and it was like a hotel bar or something. I can't remember. And he was telling me about his story, and I was like, "So what was the big success story for you?" And he basically literally looked at me and he goes, "Honestly, I just sold options my whole life."
Yeah.
And I was like,
selling options.
it's crazy because, well, I mean, he obviously was like, he ran a fund and all this other stuff, but his whole main strategy was selling options on his longer positions. And I'm like, you're just collecting premium, and the more money that you can stack, it's just like, just basically paying yourself for going past go and Monopoly, right? So
I know I like it. And, you know, I know all the risks in the market. Like I know when I first found out about the market, I was about 18, just heading into my freshman year of college. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, this is crazy. I know the risks are there, but just the fact that that opportunity is available just blew my mind. Not ignoring the risk, but just the fact that the opportunity is there and is available was just something that's difficult to wrap my mind around. So,
and it's so, like you said, it's so easily accessible for you. And there's like no...
You don't need a license.
You don't need anything.
It is wild. It's a double-edged sword, though, right? Because it's like there's all this opportunity, but at the same time, that's why people just go into the market all willy-nilly. And
I think that's why the statistic is so high. They say 90% of all traders all fail. It's because people are just going in there.
No knowledge.
Like a casino.
Bro, if I try to go and be a doctor, like I'm going to fail. Like there's going to be a 90%, you know, failure rate. So you know, you do need the proper education, especially 100%. To just protect yourself and manage your risk, which is, I would argue, the difficult thing about trading. Making money on a trade is essentially easy, and I want to be careful throwing that around. But
I see what you mean, though.
Yeah, when you managing your risk, you know, defining your risk parameters and then being able to stick to that day in, day out, week in, week out is a lot more difficult than people realize until they're in the position themselves, especially when they see that P&L fluctuating. You know what I mean? So
it's crazy because like there's a lot of times where I'll like post stuff about trades that I've taken. And there will be times that I get stopped out. And I get stopped out quite a bit. It looks like there's quite a bit of trades that I'm taking at a time to make the kind of money I'm making, but my stop loss is literally so small. Like it's like...
And what is that? Scalp? Are you mainly scalping, or what are you kind of doing?
It kind of goes with both. I've been scalping futures a lot just because the movements are crazy. So I've been setting my stop loss almost as soon as I'm green. I almost set it to break even. So like if I am getting stopped out, I'm not losing anything. Right? There might be a commission dollar, but again, it's with a prop firm that I'm using right now because I like being taxed ordinary income rather than short-term capital gains. Way different. So my stop loss is very, very small, so I'm basically putting on almost no risk at that point. It's obviously the entry point. I have to see green before I get to that point. But I become a good enough trader nowadays where it's like I can almost see whether the reversal is happening, or I can see where the volume is trying to change shifts. I'm a reversal trader, so if it's getting sold off for a while and I see a pop, I'm definitely, you know, at least taking the chance. My big strategy out there right now is the hammer candle. You know, obviously the hammer candle is like the bounce candle at the bottom of a Bollinger Band. I wait for the pullback. Stop loss is at low of the day, so it's very small risk. And that explosion, literally 2 candlesticks later in futures, is like $1,000 per contract that I buy. So
and
it's like,
which futures contracts are you looking at? I know they have different multipliers for ES and Q, those kind of things. So what are you looking at?
So everybody knows the SPY. Just talking like this because, you know, obviously people want to learn this kind of stuff. So the S&P 500 is the ESU, correct? ESU 3. So that's the mini portion, and each $10 move I think is like, what is that, like 75 or
for ES. For ES, I believe 1 point is worth $50.
Okay,
ES, and I think it's like 20 for NQ.
So I don't really trade the SPY as much because I'm like addicted to the NQ.
But when you were trading options, was it mostly option contracts on SPY?
It was. I had a basket. It was more of like Tesla, Nvidia, SPY, Meta. Some major, Meta,
some blue chips in there.
Some major stocks like that. And I feel like at first, when I first started out, there was like, I had like 300 stocks on my watch list. I'm like, what is this? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And then I started realizing that there's economics behind the market, and there's a wheel in the market, literally a whole wheel. So you can kind of almost determine when tech is selling off, you'll see stocks like Dollar General, McDonald's start to go up, right? So there's like a cycle to it. Waste management's always performing well when tech is going down. It's been a weird market lately with how the economy's performing. So I've kind of structured my watch list as like major market at the top, what's happening at gold, what's happening in the tech sector, what's happening here. So I can kind of just see that shift, you know? So I don't really think that there's a crash coming soon. I think it's going to happen at some point, but I don't know. I think that most of my stocks that I was trading with options, I still trade options a lot actually, but it's more so SPY, QQQ, blue chips.
I got you. So options have its own benefits.
Yep.
What are you liking so far more about the futures versus the options?
Oh man. This is I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole because I've been doing this for like 2 months now, man. Yeah. It's kind of changed my whole perspective. Okay. The reason I like it so much is because number one, theta is the biggest enemy. Yeah. Like we talk about options, there's an expiration date. Theta is crazy because it just crushes you if it's going sideways. Like I said,
absolutely.
We both said that if you're right, but you're right at the wrong time, you're still wrong.
Not only do you have to be right directionally, but you have to be right with the time as well.
Exactly.
So two things. Right.
Exactly. So that's the best part to me because theta is such a bitch. Like I hate theta so much, man, because like I'll know that move is coming, like that gap fill or something like happening on the charts. It's like you can see where the market is going most of the time, honestly, now that we've studied this for so long. But the problem with that is like it might take all day to get there.
Yeah, 100%.
And the theta will just destroy it. And I'm just like, I was right this whole time. I should be up 50 grand. I should be up 10 grand, 5 grand. I don't care how much. Like,
so how many destroyed mouses did you go through with the options and things?
I think I went through 4 mouses before I was like, all right, fuck this.
When I would see you post it, I had me dying, like literally laughing out loud when I see you buying a new mouse.
Dude, 3 days, I think there was 3 straight days. I was like, all right, I got to stop trading options and just focus on futures for a little bit because there was times where like I was right 3 straight times. And then I would sell it or get stopped out, and then it would happen later on. I'd be like, I literally would just take that bitch and just launch it into the wall. And I'm like, all right, I got it. Something's got to chill out.
You're not getting
that
deposit back.
Yeah,
no. One thing I think would be pretty cool to try. So I was even thinking about it the other day, and I kind of did it one time, but I want to use more conviction within it. Yeah. Like how you kind of just mentioned, sometimes you'll get the directional move that you were looking for, but it'll happen way later in the day. Sometimes I was thinking, like, what if sells off to a level or down to a low that you wanted to sell off to? Like, what if you get long futures and then you sell puts underneath that level at the same time, and then you buy calls at the same time?
Oh, man.
So if there's a quick move up, you can just immediately take your calls off, keep your futures on for the bigger picture trade, and then if that move takes too long during the day, the puts that you sold underneath that expire in a few days should lose so much time value. So you can almost hit on calls, futures, and selling options at the same time. So I was like, yeah, man, you can get creative out here. Honestly.
You can get really creative.
You can get so creative.
There's just so many ways to make money, man. Like there's like gamblers, there's people that trade SPX same day, there's people that sell options and really want time on their side. There's literally no one strategy to be really 100%. Like profitable.
There isn't. It's just risk reward. What's your risk? What's your reward? And your probabilities. That's pretty much it.
And what's wild is like, there's no competition in the space. Like you and I are traders. Yeah. You have your own channel. I have my own channel. We're like followers, right? Like that's
we're
not
friends.
But that's the thing is like the only competition in this space is yourself.
Well, that's why I really loved getting into the market originally. Yeah. You know, it was something where I didn't have teammates. Well, it is good to definitely collaborate and talk with people. Sure. What do you see? What are you seeing? You know, and things like that. But I did like how everything was on me and everything. I had to take accountability for all my actions. So to your point, there is no competition. It's just you in the market, and the market's a direct reflection of yourself. So.
Exactly, which is scary, man.
It is scary.
You can find out a lot about yourself. I've honestly, I don't want to say it's like a therapy thing, but like I've learned so much.
I would go
like,
there. Yeah, I would say so.
It's crazy because it like teaches you so much, and it sounds like people are like, oh, stocks, money, whatever, but like it does. Like you'll sit there and you'll put in real capital that you've worked your like long ass day for, right? And once it's working out, you get like nervous, you get like anxious, you get whatever. And like, it kind of like just kind of brings out that inner whatever in you.
Yeah. And
right.
You have to discover it.
And you figure it out. Yeah. You figure it out fast. Cause there's some like ugly demons I've had.
And seeing that red P&L, it will slap you in shape to make you figure out what's going on with yourself and why you feel the way you feel and why you react to things the way you react. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And but it almost like kind of fixes you in a way because if you don't get into like this like dark piece, right? Because like there was a day that I lost a lot in a day. I'll be fully transparent. I lost like 19 grand in one day. And I was like, I had a really big day beforehand and I was like, you know, I'm going to size up and put a lot of risk, but that was greed. Yeah. And there was no stop loss. There was no risk management.
So was this all self-reflection afterwards or is this your current thought process afterwards?
So afterwards, I was like just sitting on the couch, just looking out the window and I'm like, I've been here for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like I'm just looking out there like depressed and sad. I'm like, dude, what the hell? Like
Yeah.
what are you doing? Like 19 grand? That's
Right.
like some people's like,
Yeah.
that could change somebody's life,
Absolutely.
you know? So like you kind of like, I was really down on myself, but it's how you react after that feeling. It's like, how do I fix that? Instead of running away from it, maybe I don't gamble, that kind of stuff. Maybe I factor in my risk management. Not a lot of people hit on risk management is probably the most important thing in the stock market because it's your real hard-earned money. And if you're wrong, you're going to be wrong.
Yeah.
You're wrong every single day. I'm wrong every single day. It's like whoever goes in the market, you're going to be wrong. But that stop loss, that risk management is kind of like your like therapist in a way because it kind of controls your emotions. And it sucks when you get stopped out, but I'd rather get stopped out like $100 than 18 grand.
Exactly.
Right?
And what I realized too, sometimes when you're trying to avoid taking that initial loss, almost all the time you're going to take a bigger loss than if you would have just initially took your loss. So it's like 100%. Avoiding that loss makes it a bigger loss, and
and then the average down.
Exactly.
That's say you're down.
That's 100%. I've made a rule with myself. I can only add to positions that are working.
Yeah.
But it's tough because then it's like I'm not getting as good as a price that I just got on these orders.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to add at better prices, whatever it is. But now, depending on the strategy, depending on what I'm doing, only when it's working in my favor am I adding to those positions. Because like you said, averaging down can
destroy you. Honestly, I've been trying to flip that, right? It's like when you see green, you take green. It's like, oh shit, I'm up $200 right now. Let me take it.
Yeah.
It's $200, $200.
Take it off the table. Gone.
But when you're down 200, you're like, oh, I want that back.
Yeah.
So let me buy another one.
Yeah.
And then it goes against you again. It's like down 400.
Yeah.
And then
when you could have just took the $200 loss and then the next trade probably would have been 6, 7, 8, whatever it is. And it's just like,
it's a mental thing. That's why the market, like you're saying, I'm glad that you feel the same way. The competition is yourself, but it also helps you work on yourself in a certain way, right? You find out a lot of like, I don't want to say weaknesses, but you can tell where you're very fearful, where you're
vulnerable, your vulnerabilities, where you're vulnerable in the market. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. That's a great way.
And I think asking the question why has helped so much. Like, okay, I did this. Why did I do that?
Yeah,
because I was impatient. Why am I impatient? Oh, maybe I want to make all this money. That's why I'm impatient. Yeah. Why do you want to make all this money? Oh, maybe I want to prove something to. Why do you want to prove? You could just go down the rabbit hole and you can figure out for yourself.
Yeah.
What is causing those vulnerabilities for you in the market?
Which kind of ties back into my point about maybe it's social media, man, because people are posting Lamborghinis, they're staying in penthouses in Miami. It's like, is that real? Is that really like they're selling? Like people sell the dream, and it's not just the stock market; it's everything.
It's everything.
It's
every
like
industry,
drop
really.
shipping. You know, it's like, oh, I started this Amazon store. Next thing you know, I'm making $2 million a day. It's like what? You know what I mean? It's like they're selling this thing, and then you go to everybody's profile, and then it's like, oh, they want to educate, sell more. So there's a lot of levels to it, and I feel like a lot of people fall into the trap, which gives a lot of things on social media that negative connotation.
100%.
Like, am I going to make money in this? Are they just scamming me? That kind of stuff, which kind of sucks for people like you and I that actually care about providing value, or people like Umar or Jadon or Rake or Simon or anybody in the trading space that has a large following. There's great people out there, and you can learn from them. Yeah. But there's so many bad people out there that kind of just like keep snowballing it down.
All in the mix, 100%. And I think one of the things, because I know there's a whole connotation about buying, online information now and things like that, in which if I would have done that in early in my career, I probably would have saved so much time and money because I didn't know. You just don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly.
But I think when it comes down to that, it's going to come down to if you want some type of education from someone, just see if you rock with their personality. See if you like them as a person. See if I think you got to dive deeper than just what they're putting out at face value. Like, oh, I followed this person's I followed their content. I know their character. They're a cool dude, genuine dude. They've actually put out real value to help me, and then you got to reassess that way. But you can't be blinded by the shiny objects.
Exactly. The shiny objects will literally lead you down dark paths.
Absolutely.
Because, like, again, you talk about, there's a saying that's, what is it, $300 a day makes $100K a year.
Yep. What is it, 252 trading days in a year, something like that? Yeah,
something similar to that. But, like, if I came up to somebody and they were asking for a job, what kind of job, what salary do you want to make? What is the national average? Like 50 grand a year?
50, 60, I think is the median.
56 grand a year is the median. So like, that's like $150 a day.
Yeah.
Trading in the market. Yeah. Like you don't need to be making 20, 30K to live a comfortable
life.
You
get desensitized to the market. So sometimes you'll make a profit and you don't realize. Like, do you realize sometimes what those numbers, that's real, that's real, and you get so desensitized, even when you take a loss. Yeah. Sometimes it's like, take a loss. But it's like, if you saw that come out of your bank account right now, you'd be like, whoa.
Yeah. It's literally a video game.
It is a video. I honestly think if you think about it as a video game, the better. 100%.
I've kind of had that same 100%. Switch. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to play a game. Yeah. And honestly, when I was a kid, I used to love playing video games,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be the best at the
100%.
video game, everything, whether it was Call of Duty,
Yeah.
Madden, whatever. And if I sucked at first, I just like strategize that.
Exactly.
So have that mentality. Yeah.
And one thing, you know, I seen you post something like this not too long ago, but a lot of people think there's this like secret strategy out there.
Yeah.
And it's really not.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it all comes down to execution. And,
sure.
and execution skills is what you build over time. For example, if we're playing Call of Duty,
Yep.
you know, you can show someone what buttons to do to shoot, to run, the whatever.
Yeah.
Someone's going to perform better because they have better skills.
For sure.
There's no secret about it. You just have to be able to execute better than everybody else.
Exactly.
Or just, you know, it's not a comparing thing, but just to show the difference, it's experience and it's execution skills you build over time.
For sure. And I wonder, like, when I think about it, is like the communities and live trading stuff and education, like everybody sees something so different, right?
Yeah.
And what do you think about like building a community around stock trading? Do you think it's beneficial for people to be in groups like that? Or do you think it's better to have somebody solo?
That's a good point. I would say, so I've been reading a lot more books over and over again too.
Yeah.
And what I've gotten out of it was, you know, I've been reading another book from one of the authors. He runs a prop firm, a proprietary trading firm with their team. You know, he doesn't trade for anybody else, doesn't give out funds, just only for him and his team. They're based out in New York. And I was reading their books again, and he even put out a tweet not too long ago talking about they have some younger traders working for their desk.
Yeah.
And they're now requiring all of your first or 2 years, they're requiring you to be in the office because they tracked that their results were better when they were in the office collaborating with everybody else rather than being remote. So I would say there's definitely an advantage when you collaborate and have some type of community, even if it's an online community.
Yeah.
It depends on the quality of the community as well too. So, but I would say having someone to lean on and share thoughts with and whatever
important
is a huge help.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think that it's kind of going against both what we're saying. Like it's really just you against you, but in the realm of all of it, like there's so much education out there. Like there's things that I learned still from other traders and other content creators. I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
That's the best way to cut down your learning curve. Learn from other people and their mistakes.
Yeah.
Don't make all the mistakes yourself. That's going to take forever.
And honestly, that's what happened to me. Because I was like, I feel like that's where I regret a lot when I first started because there's so much. What's that?
I'm on the same boat, but I want to see what you're going to say first. I want to see.
I'm just saying, like, I think about it and I'm like, in college, right? Like, I don't know what your end goal is. I don't know if it's just trade for the rest of your life. You want to build a company, whatever.
Yeah.
But for me, I want to build other things around it. When I think about college, right? I invested so much money into college.
Right.
You know, $30K a year out of state, that kind of stuff. Big football school, like great experience. Don't regret any sort of decision I ever made.
Yeah.
But if I'm willing to spend $30K a year at a university to get drunk and play football or go to football games and just like have a good time, obviously education is there, but like to have that kind of opportunity after college, why wouldn't I buy somebody's like $500 course or $1,000 course, like an expert in the field that's trying to teach me, whether that is stock market trading, whether it is options trading, whether that's
any
drop
industry
shipping,
for that
whether
matter.
it's
Just
learn how to build
knowledge.
skateboards,
exactly. Whatever it is.
Because there's people out there, like there's obviously all the free content, right?
Yeah.
YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, like all that's great, but those platforms are there for funnels, most likely the people that utilize them the best, because all their best knowledge is in something they're creating to provide value. Obviously, they want to monetize themselves because the education, people pay for education.
Right.
So I paid for a shit ton of money for college.
Yeah.
When in reality, I wish I would have paid for at least a course to help me out because I learned by doing.
Yeah.
And that results in a lot of losses at first. So I kind of dug myself a hole before I started, increasing my value in my accounts. But steepening that, or shortening that learning curve, like you said, is definitely one of the best ways to get started. But
I hear you on that. So I first started learning options from Tasty, right? But before that, I was already in the market trading for 3 years prior to that. So I really had a great grasp on just the concept of trading and risk reward probabilities, all those kind of things. And I think it would have saved me so much time if I would have dabbled and maybe bought someone's course. Like I bought a marketing course, I remember one time when I was in college. Yeah. But I never did anything with the stock market. But I was thinking about it the other day, and you know why I think I never bought somebody else's course?
Because the social media gave it a bad idea.
Pride.
Really?
Yeah, it was actually pride. It was actually pride because I didn't want to be able to say, oh, they helped me. Oh, I learned from their course in X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So it was pride, and that pride held me back. Although I think there was a lot of benefits from it because I went on my own to figure things out, which cost a lot of time and money, as you know. I don't lean on somebody else to give me confirmation or validation when to make a decision in the market. I feel like if I was new and I was learning from somebody, I'd be like, oh, what would they do? What would they think about this?
Yeah.
So now I can kind of just think for myself a little bit better now.
Yeah.
But there's definitely the pros and cons in that.
You know, it's a great point that you just brought up, because I remember unfollowing a lot of people in social media because I'm like, oh, he's a good trader.
Yeah.
Or at least I think.
Yeah.
What is he doing today? Oh, he's going to trade,
Right, 100%.
you know, what was it? Like Caterpillar.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, calls on this because it's going to pop. And I'm like, oh, I'll just buy that because he said it.
Right.
And then I look at it and I'm like, what? That was a terrible trade, right? It's like I just followed this random dude. So I just ended up just like.
But it's easy to, because the market is such a land of the unknown.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes you just want to lean on an idea or something because.
Yeah,
it's
because
so much
somebody's
uncertainty.
hot in the market, right? Somebody's like making so many green profitable trades. Their stories are blowing up. They're getting a million followers. They're getting so much reach because of what they're posting. And it's like, you follow them one time, it goes red. You're like, oh, they're just human. You know, it's like, it's kind of goes back and forth. It's like, there is a community aspect to it that is super important. Yeah. Education based only, in my opinion. And then the actual execution, you need to do yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That's
which is the most important piece.
Exactly. Right. And then risk management is the other one, is like, you don't want to risk a ton of money if you don't have a ton of money on it. And it's 10%, 15% stop loss. Yeah. It'll help you better with your executions.
Yeah. You really do have to like switch your framework, because not putting in a stop loss or defining your risk, you're ultimately saying you know what the market is about. You know what the market is about to do.
Yeah.
You know, not doing that, because now you're not even factoring in that this trade may not even go the direction you want it to go.
For sure.
So it's like now you're blinded by whatever is in front of you now.
Yeah,
you know?
man. It's crazy, man. The market is like, we could go on and on.
Bro,
and
you
on.
could keep going. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's like, it's literally a whole different world.
I forgot we were even on this podcast talking about it. I feel like I was just talking straight up to you about the markets.
Yeah. We got a lot of venting going on right now, man. You and I are going through it. But
so much to learn.
Dude, I would love to talk to you about futures real quick.
Yeah, let's get into it.
I would love to talk about, because I know
I'm a fan.
Dude, I love them.
I'm a big fan.
I fucking love them.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because the risk associated with it, with people, I'm trying to create this like changed belief in the market right now, because there's so many people in options. It is a lot. We said it was easier earlier to learn, you know, than you think, but there's a lot going against you when you buy options, right? There's three things. It's the theta, it's the options, and you could be right at the wrong time. You're still wrong, right?
Absolutely.
So going back to that point, in futures, there's no theta.
Yeah.
And remember when I was saying, like, if there was a gap fill in the market, gap fills are obviously those are one of my favorite things to if the market gaps up, I look for it to come down to fill where it closed at yesterday, or vice versa.
Yeah.
But that could take all day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
In futures, you're getting that option move. Like, every 10 points it moves is $200 per contract. Right. So I was watching the market earlier today, and I saw the drop coming because of that gap fill. And literally from open and in 20 minutes from top to bottom, if you bought one of them, you're up like $3,600 within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's 9:45. You're done.
Yeah.
Like, you're literally done at that point, because it filled that gap pretty early. But even if it just chopped all day long and it didn't go crazy against me and it didn't hit my stop loss, it could have went sideways the whole time. And if it got to that point at 3:59 before the market closes, I'm still up as much as it would have done in 15 minutes.
Right.
And that's why I think it's so beautiful, because there's these prop firms out there. And the prop firms are obviously making money. There's ways that we could talk about, like, you could ask those questions, or if you already know, but you're paying $100 a month, $75 a month, or even $150, I think is the max one a month, to get access to capital, $25,000 a month. Or not even a month, just in general, like an account, $50,000 up to $150,000, and that's your risk. Your risk is only your monthly subscription. So if you lose that money in the test account, because you have to do the test account first, if you fail, the only thing that you have to do is pay $100 to reset it, because it's a simulated account,
which is like a lot of people's just paper cuts in their regular account. It's like a paper cut trade, you know?
Exactly. It's not $18,000 in that loss. I could have done that literally
Exactly.
1,800 times to reset that to get to that point. So the best part about these futures prop firms, it's like they give you the capital. And I think I've talked about this before, but like, I come from nothing, you know, single mother, you know, 5 kids. She worked 3 jobs, but literally didn't have capital or access to capital. So like, kid like me, that's
and your
like
idea
trying to
of
learn,
capital is
so
totally
small.
different.
So if I see $70 a month to get access to 50 grand, you know, money makes money, right?
Yeah.
So if you're trading, or if you're like buying just stocks or whatever it is, the more money you put into it, when you're right, you're making a ton of money, right? So if you just buy Tesla stock, if you buy one, you're not making that much money. But if you have the capital to buy 1,000 shares and it goes up, you're rich, right?
Absolutely.
So the fact that you have the access to this now with just a monthly subscription, the risk is so much smaller because now you're not having to put that 4K or 3K that you've saved up for months at a time and actual risk in the market, because now you can just take $100 from that and learn with 150 grand or learn from like 50 grand. And I don't know. I just think that
100%.
The prop firm model is amazing because there is a drawdown and you have to make like 3K before you get 2K to get the real money. And if you learn how to trade, or you're paper trading at first before you get involved, then they really give you that amount of money.
Yeah.
And there is a drawdown period, but you can't lose $2,500 once you get the real money, or they'll shut the account off.
Yeah.
But that's
so if you're consistently losing or consistently not managing your risk, like you still got to know how to trade. I think some people would get that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
you definitely need to know how to trade, but it's just determining the direction.
Right.
Like, so if you see the market, like when we saw it back in January, what was it, like 2022 or 2020?
March 2020? You talking about the COVID crash?
Yeah, that one, or like even when the market like kind of crashed last year and everybody was like,
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, time's
flying,
bro.
I was like,
it's crazy.
You're missing out on time, bro.
Yeah,
that's 2 years. That's like 2.5 years ago.
Maybe we shouldn't be trading. I can't remember anything at this point. But even just like one of those, it's like you think it's going to start reversing. You can catch one of those big green days, and it never comes back down. We've all seen the market where it's just like kind of just slowly trending up all day. And if you bought one like anywhere near the bottom and just set your stop loss at break even, just watch it go.
Yeah.
It's like thousands of dollars just off of one contract.
It's definitely just about putting yourself in a position for something to happen and then manage your risk.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Exactly. But there's no theta.
Right.
There's no option breaks against you. And it's like you could buy one share of the actual market, right? If you have your money saved up, you have $4,000, you could buy, let's just say, I don't even know what that would be, like 10 shares of the SPY, right? So if you buy 10 shares of the SPY, what are you going to make on a $10 move? Nothing. Literally nothing. You make $100, right? But in an option contract, or not an option contract,
a futures
contract, you could literally make thousands of dollars by buying one mini contract just for that one 10-day intraday move, right? So I don't know. It's just the possibilities that you can get from it.
I think futures is the name of it, just like options, is a little intimidating for most. Because again, like
sounds weird.
Like you meant, it moves just like stock. Futures move just like stock. It's a one for one. You buy a contract, you buy a share.
Yeah.
All direction. Yep. Like you kind of just mentioned a minute ago. Options have three components that move the value of an option: time, volatility, and the stock price, the underlying stock price.
Yep.
And to your point, futures, you just have to watch the futures price. And that's how much you're up, that's how much you're down.
Yep.
No other moving components.
And that's the best. That's the beauty of it though, because when it's moving that way, right, you don't have those three components that the calculation is like kind of going against you.
Yeah.
Because if it's just direction, right, and you only have one of those, and it's not your money, first off, because if it's a prop firm, then you have so much upward potential because there's nothing going against you. And they move like option contracts, but it's a stock, basically.
It's a stock on crack.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Which is wild. Because I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
No, like let's say we have the futures, and futures is at 4,000. If let's say you were able to buy shares on these futures, like if you bought one future, obviously that'd be like $4,000 some because futures are way different price. This might even be a bad analogy, but if that future goes up 1 point, and if it was a share, you'd be up like $1.
Yeah.
But with the futures, if you're trading ES, it goes up 1 point, you're making $50 on 1 point rather than just $1. So that multiplier is different.
Yeah. So it's definitely very volatile. That's
very
where
volatile.
The execution is definitely important. Like you need to know how to read levels, support, and resistance. And obviously, I'm just a price action guy.
It's different for everybody. Whatever works for everybody. Like that's one thing that irks me, I will say, on social media.
Yeah.
Like people will be like, oh, this is what I like to do. This is what I'm doing. Then people be like, that's wrong. That doesn't work. That's not. I'm like, who are you to say anything is wrong or right in the market? That's the beauty about the market. There are no rules. You got to create your framework and your own risk to reward, and you got to see how you want to get in and get out. No right way to go about anything in the market.
Yeah, I do I do a lot of consultations now, and anytime I talk to anybody, I'm like, I am going to show you my strategy. I don't want you to even think that this is the best strategy out there, right? This is what works for me.
Yeah.
If you want to look at it and it works for you, maybe even test it out on a paper trade account, then go ahead for that. But I never say this is the best strategy. This is what I do.
But they get to learn the most important part, which isn't the strategy, it's the framework around the strategy.
Exactly.
So then when you understand the framework you have around the strategy, my profit targets, my risk to reward, maybe if I'm adding or not adding, I don't know, whatever it is, people can get creative and add those same principles to their own.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I learned this from so-and-so, but I want to try this. I need to make sure I have my risk levels planned out, this planned out, this planned out, my position sizing planned out.
100%.
You can still learn a lot from anything really, so.
Yeah. All right, so like switching gears a little bit, because futures is like, it's just like a whole new game, and I would love to just go on and on about that, just because I've just been like, I've had a profit target of like $1,500 a day on there now, and I'm only buying like 1 to 2 contracts, and I'm there in like a couple minutes based off.
What was your favorite futures contract? Was it NQ?
NQU3. It moves crazy.
Yeah,
it's literally
all the time. I would mainly trade the E-minis. Yeah, and I was looking at NQ, and the points that NQ moves is way more. The multiplier is smaller, but the amount of points they move is crazy. It is crazy.
I've never seen anything move like that in my life. And it's like, dude, it's like a gambler's itch almost. I'm like in there, I'm like 20.
Yeah, if you have no self-control, don't even touch the market.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I've been having a lot of good luck, knock on wood. I guess this is marble, but I mean, I feel like there's just so much opportunity. And the thing that I want people to understand in futures real quick before we shift gears, sorry to bring it back up, but like, your risk is so small. That's the thing, is like, it's $100 a month or less to get funded from one of these prop firms. Yeah. And if you can find out that you're a good trader and profitable, you keep 90% of the profits on a $50,000 account. Yeah. And that's at minimum, right? You can get a $150,000 account, and that $100 subscription ends up being nothing. Yeah. Because you're making that money in seconds if you are a profitable trader. Obviously, you gotta test yourself, right? Maybe you give it a try 2 or 3 times, you spend $300, but I guarantee you're probably going to blow yourself up in options more than $300 if you're just starting out anyway, right? So
you do need a lot more studying for that and understanding the details.
Exactly, right? So, I mean, there's so much content out there that's like, focus on this, focus on this, focus on this. Like, you're an options seller, mostly. You also do options buying. I'm sure you have stock as well. You've traded futures. I'm like, I do it all as well. There's not one best way to like focus on something, but it's just the way that these prop firms popped up out of nowhere. They're obviously making a killing off of everybody doing it, but at the same time, I just think that there's so much value in at least learning that, because it's teaching you direction, like you're saying. So like, you can understand. I feel like options might be the toughest one because there's a lot of different calculations with it. So even starting with stock, there's just more opportunity in the futures piece to it. Yeah. And the fact that you don't have to risk your own hard-earned capital rather than like $100 a month. I just feel like there's so much opportunity with a limited downside risk for people because it's a test account at first. So it kind of just like, it's no longer like me going in there and be like not knowing anything. At least I'm learning by doing with someone else's money rather than mine. And technically it's fake money anyway, so you're not hurting anybody but the $100 subscription. So I don't know. I think it's a great model.
I hear you.
That's all I keep saying. I think that it's a great opportunity for people to at least check out. Yeah. Like, I'm not here to preach it to a million people, but when I thought of that, and I was like, if I had this when I was like 16 or 17.
And there are 16-year-olds out here now bro, and I've come across some of them just like, bro, I thought I got into the market late. Yeah. I see 14-year-olds, some in my Discord, they're like, I'm in high school now. Some of them are about to be seniors. Yeah. I remember they started when they're freshmen. I'm just like, bro, I thought I started late.
Yeah, the power of social media, man, it just changes people's concepts.
It opens your mind up to what's out there.
Oh, imagine like the innovation in like 20 years, like what people are gonna be able to do outside of the stock market. Like, there's gonna be like people having companies that are like billions.
There's pros and cons, and I remember my mom even was talking about it one time. She was like, "Man, I wish I had this." Like around when, I was this age, there's so much I didn't know about there in the world and all that. I'm just like, it's a double-edged sword, but at the same time, you're exposed to a lot of things you otherwise wouldn't have been. So. Yeah,
might make me die sooner because I feel like I'm so stressed out. But it's like, I feel like, I did something well, and then I go on Instagram. It's like, this guy made $2 billion bucks. Like, what the fuck, man? Can't win out here. But
that's funny.
It's crazy, but
hey, comparison's a thief of joy.
Exactly. Hey. I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot, man. That's a great way to put that because. Oh man, it's just like it kind of like just keeps putting you down at some point. It's like, you can work your ass off. You meet the next guy, it's like above you, and it's like that's honestly I've kind of switched my perspective. It's like good for you, man. Like that's great that you built that.
Yeah, you can take it as inspiration. Like wow, that's possible. That's sick. I got something to strive for because you showed me it could be done. Yeah,
And what's even crazier is there's so many different ways to get rich. Right? There's so many different ways to make income, make money nowadays. It's like. I mean, the guy on Shark Tank made millions of dollars because he made a different flavor of beef jerky, right? So like, there's those.
I love the Scrub Daddy. I bought another one. I know they're on that show too, but
yeah, man, the Scrub Daddy's
simple product. But I was like, this is actually a really great product.
Yeah, and that's like the most. I think that's the most successful Shark Tank deal ever.
What are the margins on that? It's a sponge. Crazy margins.
And the volume is nuts. So like there's ways to make money everywhere, whether it's Airbnb arbitrage or real estate or stock market. Like there's so many ways. Yeah. I just think that the best thing that we could tell anybody is literally focus on whatever you like.
Yeah.
Right.
100%. Because you're going to stop. Even if you don't like it at all, you're going to eventually stop.
Yeah.
This road is bumpy.
Yeah. It's bumpy as shit, man. And you can do whatever you want. Just make sure you enjoy it along the way, because you do not want to be in the market and then you're like, oh shit, this guy's making money on Airbnb. Let me try that. Yeah. And then, you hear somebody like
shiny object syndrome,
drop shipping. Yeah. And then you go to that. And if you're trying like this, and this, you're never going to make it, right? You got to focus on one thing that you actually enjoy. And it's okay to try them, right? Like if you don't like it, maybe jump ship, but like, don't try to do all of them.
No.
Right. And that's kind of like, I kind of fell through that because I was like, maybe I should do Airbnb arbitrage. You know, there's people out here doing real estate. There's so many ways to make money. If you focus and become an expert on one thing, you're going to fucking crush it no matter what you do. It's just the time you put into it.
Absolutely.
Right? So the return is always there.
Oh yeah. Each journey has its necessary pitfalls that you got to go through. It's like some people switch before they go through all the necessary pitfalls, to learn what you need to know, so that you can then, do better at whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
So many different industries.
Exactly, man. I would love to talk a little bit about like what you got going on too. I know we talked a lot about trading and just kind of like got into it, but so what is your vision, man? Like I know you got your own personal brand you got going on. Is trading it for you? Do you think that that's what you want to do for the rest of your life? Do you want to build a company? Do you want to build like education to it? Like,
I think it would be really cool to build tools around it. It's always going to be something within the realm of trading. Yeah. Always going to be obviously always trading. Like I'll always be actively trading for myself, but whatever it's going to be within the realms of trading. Obviously I want to get into real estate more like that, later on and all that kind of stuff. But I would say, trading wise, creating content, really not anything like this is the North Star, but I definitely know that's the direction that I want to head into. And then wherever life kind of takes me as I'm pursuing that.
Diversify a little
exactly. Bit. And I'll feel it too. And it's like, I know the direction I want to go, but when it's like, oh, this is the thing I want to build, I'll feel it.
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
I'll feel it.
Just kind of riding the trading wave with Tasty as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and
dope,
then
man.
just creating content in trading.
You love that, man.
I love that. Creating content in trading, like it still blows my mind. That's what I get to do today. Like as a 24, like I get to trade and create content when I would kill to be able to do that when I was 18.
Oh yeah.
When I first found out about the market, I was like, no way, this is real. But when my dad and my brother went down to this thing downtown Colorado Springs, it was this free little thing they were talking about to upsell you on some other things. Brother came home, he had this program on his laptop. It's like, what is that? He was like, oh, it's the stock market. You buy a share here, you pay this. This is when like there was not free commissions. Free commissions weren't a thing. Man. He was like, you got to pay $350 for the commission. Then to sell, you got to pay $350 again. And then you got to keep the difference. And I was like, you're telling me if I click this button on this computer that's connected to Wi-Fi right now, I will make or lose real money. He's like, yes. I'm like, you're lying. No way. I'm like, how is that possible? This is like 2016, 2017. Go onto the internet, see a lot more young people doing that. And I'm just like, whoa. And it kind of inspired me. And that's why I kind of got into content, creating content, because I was inspired at a young age to do that. And that's why it's kind of surreal to be like, dang, I got to trade and create content.
Yeah,
I got to wake up, trade, create content. So it's fun. I got to meet more people that are doing similar things to I am, like yourself. And it's you build relationships through that industry.
In a nice ass studio talking about this stuff, trying to help other people out, man. It's just cool.
It's cool. Life's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And it's all about like the networking too. I feel like a lot of people in the space is always trying to like, they have like their own like kind of like Heisman, like stay away from me. I'm making my money, like stay away. But like there's also a huge piece to where like people are collaborating. Like I was on a live on Instagram today with some guy he just travels a lot. I don't know if you know Dr. Stocks. He's kind of
Dr. Stocks. Yo, I think he hit me up a while.
Yeah, man. He's an interesting man.
He's an older guy. Yeah. His persona's a little different.
I
know what you're talking about.
He's like traveling the world right
I know
now.
exactly what you're talking about.
He's like, hey man, how you doing, brother? I'm literally I'm in Asia right now. I've been here for about like 14 months. I'm like, oh yeah, really? And then he's like, yeah, I just came from Africa. I'm like, where do you live?
He's a nomad.
Literally, yeah, he's a nomad, man. But he has such a cool perspective on life, and like he's so grounded with himself that he's such a good like trader, right? Because it's like it's about like you're good, man.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, but it's like he has like this like spiritual like kind of
that's how I know we're talking about the same person. You could feel his energy just calm.
Yeah, calm.
But his voice and how he talks.
He's successful because of that.
Absolutely.
Right? So I don't know. He's an interesting. But what I'm saying is like I'm connecting with people like him. And he's like talking about like, oh, if you're ever in Asia, Europe, whatever, he's like, I'll send you a bunch of recommendations. I know this guy. So it's like social media is powerful.
It's wild, bro.
But even like this trading world is like, there's so many people that allow you to collaborate and network. And obviously like you and I met over a year ago now. So
wow, it has been over a year.
Has it been a year?
I think it has.
Yeah, something close to that.
Somewhere around there.
I don't know. The only thing I can think about, how is there's a hurricane here, man. What
Bro,
the hell?
I woke up in the middle of the night and I start seeing more things on Twitter about it.
Yeah.
On my Instagram, I'm like, bro, why was nobody talking about this?
Nobody was talking about it. Give me a heads up, man.
I was like, bro, I'm under a rock apparently.
Yeah. You're from Denver, right?
An hour south, Colorado Springs.
Okay, Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
I'm from New York. I've never seen a hurricane in my life, so
Same,
I'm kind of
no
scared
natural
shitless.
No, yeah. We got some snow here and there.
Yeah.
Same with New York, probably.
Oh,
but
yeah. You never see anything crazy like that, or like
a tornado or a hurricane, the natural disasters. Yeah,
I saw a headline that said like deadly category 3. I'm like, what the hell is this, dude? Like, what do you mean?
Bro's like, what is a cat 3?
Yeah. And they're telling me, they're like, oh, you should evacuate, but you should be good. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? So I went to the store and bought like 2 gallons of water, and I'm like, that should be good. Right?
I'm surprised there's any water left.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, the stores are wild right now, but hopefully we survive that, so we can continue talking about this kind of stuff, and maybe the podcast will get out there in the world. But,
100%.
But that's crazy, man. I guess we can kind of wrap it up from there. Really, we can just kind of give me like. Obviously, the podcast, I created this about a year ago. Yeah. Like I said, we got a little bit more of a level up now at this point. So I feel like we've had a much better conversation and more education. So I'd love to hear. I kind of already asked you a little bit about what your inspiration was and your vision, but this is season 2. Welcome to season 2. I'm going to take this one seriously this time. I'm going to try to get as many people down here as possible and get on the podcast. So again, I appreciate your time coming here. But a lot of knowledge, man. I can tell even when I first met you that you're really hitting the books. You're really focused on this, because just the way you talk about things and the way you even have these inspirational quotes and different types of sayings. I can tell you've been reading a lot and you're really focused on this, and then it's really inspiring to hear the way you talk about it and the way you're passionate about this industry, man. Because
I really appreciate that.
Of course, man. Of course, I feel like you're setting yourself up for some pretty high success, and I'm excited to see your journey, man. I'm happy that we've been able to develop a friendship over that time. I know you're putting in the work, and it's inspiring, man. So, even with that being said, I asked you this on the last podcast. I'm going to ask it everybody else. It's always on the podcast, but tell me what your next move is to continue the success that you've been building for the last 4 or 5 years in this industry.
The next move, just being able to keep executing at a high level. That's really the next move. Really, like, I would look at a lot of people that are doing really good things within their industry, and I even like compare it to just professional athletes. Yeah. And the one thing that I see is, like, for example, Steph Curry. Steph Curry's not in there because he can hit a 3. Obviously, he can hit a 3, but I can hit a 3. Anybody can hit a 3. And we're in high school, we're shooting 3s, but like, what's the difference? Why do these guys get to be over here? Yeah. They can do that consistently, executing that at a high level under pressure. Oh yeah. All day with their eyes closed. So that's kind of what my mind's on. That's my next move. Yeah. More self-development, being able to execute at a high level while embracing the pressure. And not being able to be fazed by that. And I think that'll help in many areas of just business in general. So that's really what my mind's been on.
Hell yeah, man. I love that, because like, it's almost like you're focusing on yourself first, because if you can kind of figure out who you are at first, you're going to be able to go whatever route, be in any environment, do whatever industry, and handle any pressure that comes your way. So that's a great next move. Thanks, honestly.
Bro. It's difficult to help people. You got to help yourself first before you can help other people. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at.
Of course, man. Well, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what you got going on, because I know you're working on some stuff silently out there. You're a silent killer, so it's always dope talking to you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly, man. But I don't know. We're going to do some cool stuff together. I know that for sure at some point, but I always appreciate having these.
We always have a good time when I see you. When we would hang out. We haven't hung out recently, but we got to. But every time, it's always been a good time. So
we'll connect again, man. I've been in the shadows lately. Yeah, but I'll come back out. I'll come back out.
I know.
But like I said, I appreciate your time today, man, and it's always a pleasure.
Thanks, bro.
Yes, sir.